Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the latest news headlines in the prog world, give you guys some prog singles to check out in the description, and give you updates on the channel, what's happening here, what I've done in the past, and what's coming up shortly. So excited to get into it all with you. It's December 7th, 2024, and to be honest, this is probably going to be the last New Music Weekly of the year. I think that, news kind of slows down in December anyways. I think I'm going to do one final kind of wrap-up show for the year next Friday, I imagine, or next Saturday, one of those days, depending on when I'm available. But this is probably the last New Music Weekly proper, and of course it'll resume back in January with new episodes weekly. So, but I just wanted to give the heads up for those that follow this program pretty regularly. It may take a little bit of a break through the end of December, beginning of January before we get back into the swing of things, depending on what's happening in the world of prog, and if there's exciting news items to cover. So a lot of fun being had in the prog world, a lot of interesting news items to get through. It's going to be a fun episode. I apologize for being a little bit less frequent on the channel lately. The last couple weeks have been challenging because of various family commitments, the holidays. Of course, I traveled for the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US, so it was difficult to be able to edit and do videos during that time period. But I'm going to try to ramp things up and get really the excitement going for some of this big year-end content that I'm excited to put out. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to give kind of a schedule of what I'm planning to release throughout the rest of this year. So, but first, let's get into the news items proper. For new releases, I saw that Jethro Tull's new Christmas album, Fresh Snow at Christmas, came out this weekend. Basically, a remakes or redo of the Jethro Tull Christmas album that came out earlier in the 2000s. So it's not new music really, but a new fresh package of this music with mixes by Bruce Sword of Pineapple Thief fame and a bunch of extras and bonus features on the physical product. So something definitely worth checking out. One of the better holiday prog albums, I would say, which there aren't that many, honestly. It's kind of difficult to find the hidden gems of great prog Christmas music or prog holiday music in general, but this is one of the good ones, well worth checking out, and I've heard the new mixes are really solid, so definitely a good one. On the new music front, really the standout release for me is WIZRD's new album Elements, which is a band from the Charisma record label. So it's a really cool kind of Scandinavian prog stuff, a bit of psych elements and some jazziness, but rooted in this kind of classic old school prog. It's really cool stuff, definitely well worth checking out, and I'll be talking about it a little bit more in one of my upcoming videos. So those are the ones that were really on my radar. As for the prog news, the 5 items this week, we've got Dream Theater sharing a new single from their upcoming album Parasomnia. That track is called A Broken Man. This is a really cool track. It's the second track released. Of course, they released their first single not too long ago, which was a really cool exploration into this new iteration of the band, of course, with Mike Portnoy brought back into the fold. To me, if I'm being honest, I feel like this is pretty much in line with modern Dream Theater with the last several albums, the last few Mangini albums. Really sounds like something that could have come from A View from the Top of the World. Maybe a bit more of a refresh in the drumming style. Of course, you're bringing in Mike Portnoy, who brings a lot of energy, a lot of creativity to the drum work, but the compositions themselves feel pretty similar to what Dream Theater's been doing. Take that with a grain of salt. Some people may like that. Some people may have wished that it was more classic Dream Theater sound or something a bit more refreshed and different. But it's solid, and I love the instrumental sections. Still, you can't argue that these are some of the best players in the genre, some of the greatest musicians playing just incredible music and are all super talented. So had a lot of fun listening to kind of the instrumental section of this track towards the end and kind of some bluesier sections and the guitar work and stuff. It's really fun. So if you're a big Dream Theater fan, this is definitely a track worth checking out. And they're still touring out there. I believe they concluded the the current leg, their European leg of the tour, and then are going to be doing some other dates through South America and then North America as well. Beginning of next year is when they're doing North American dates starting in February. Hopefully I'll be going to one of those dates. I have tickets, but sometimes life events take over, but hopefully that'll be a good concert to attend. I'm hoping to take my dad, and should be a fun time to see the new lineup of Dream Theater, the classic lineup reformed. Should be a really great time. Secondly, I want to talk about Big Big Train announcing their reissue of their third studio album, Bard. This reissue will be released March 21st, 2025. And this, to be honest, isn't my favorite era of the band. This is pre-David Lungden era, the Underfall Yard and all of those classics. But it's a lot of fans have been clamoring for this to be reissued because it hasn't been really available very much. It's hard to find. You have to go on eBay and find these kind of hidden links to try to find this album, and it's usually super expensive. But now we're getting a proper remix of the album by Rob Aubrey. Should be a really cool release for the band. Fans should be happy with them focusing on this. So should be cool. It's being released on the band's own label, English Electric Recordings, on CD and 2LP and via Bandcamp high resolution download. They are on Inside Out now, but that's only for their new releases moving forward. For their classic albums, for their reissues and all of that kind of stuff, they're still doing it on their own record label, English Electric Recordings. So should be really cool. Some liner notes by Andy Stewart in this new package. Should be a really fun time. Some material from a new interview with Gregory Sponton. So should be a cool release if you're interested in kind of the history of Big Big Train and their back catalog. This is an interesting one. They also announced that they're doing a show in Portugal at the Gouveia Art Rock Festival on May 4th. I thought that was cool. Next year, their first show in Portugal. Should be a great time for them. And of course, they're also going to be on Cruise to the Edge next year, which I hope to attend as well. So a lot of activity for Big Big Train as they move into the next year. We'll see if a new album formulates. I feel like I've heard little news items, drips and drabs, that they're working on a new album, so that should be materializing sometime in the future, but may take them some time to really finalize that. Item number 3, Karmakanic are returning with their first new album in 9 years. They announced that the new album is going to be called Transmutation, coming out on March 7th. This is through Jonas Reingold's own label, Reingold Records. He's basically the main man behind this project. He's played with the Flower Kings on bass, but this is really his foray into full-on symphonic prog of his own making. This is going to be their first new studio album since the release of Dot in 2016, a fantastic record. I'm a huge fan of this band, so it's exciting to see them return to the scene. They're doing some advanced pre-ordering right now. I think it's for kind of bigger, more advanced copies of the record, for VIP members, and it's a little bit on the pricier end if you want to help fund the band and so forth. But there's a lot of great contributions on this record. Simon Phillips is featuring on the album. Steve Hackett band member Craig Blundell. We've got John Mitchell, Steve Hackett himself, Randy McStein, Nick DiVirgilio. So a lot of contributions by some of the big names in the modern prog scene. Should be a really excellent album, and one to go check out, one to pre-order and to listen to when it releases in March. I'll definitely be talking about it on the channel, and they're going to be performing, I believe, on Cruise to the Edge as well, so it should be a fun time for them to be able to promote their record and play some live dates, and should be a lot of fun in that sense. And then once again, another band that's going to be on Cruise to the Edge, we've got Thank You Scientist announcing their new frontman, who's going to debut at that Cruise to the Edge show, the very first show officially in the band. The new frontman's name is Damon Santamaria. He's the frontman for a band called Karmic Juggernaut, which I really like, a very cool psych, proggy kind of band that plays in similar circuits with Thank You Scientist, so it makes sense that they're cross-pollinating and coming together, these different musicians and artists that have been working together. So it should be really cool. Thank You Scientist is one of my all-time favorite bands. They've produced 3 of my favorite albums in recent years. And I was concerned because their previous lead singer left the group earlier this year, and it was a sad parting. I was worried if they'd continue as a band, would they continue instrumentally, what would they do? But once they were announced for Cruise to the Edge, I knew that they had to be continuing in some format, and so here we go with the band bringing up a new lead singer here into the group. And it seems like he's a multi-instrumentalist, so he'll probably bring a lot to the table, not just in the vocal department, but he plays flute, sitar, accordion, guitar, and other instruments as well. So should be really cool to see what this new configuration of the band does. I'll be interested to see if they're going to come out with any new material anytime soon. I'm really excited if they come out with a new album. I've been looking forward to something new from them, so we'll see. Exciting times. I'm excited for the band and to see what this new chapter holds for them. Item number 5, Bumblefoot returns. This is a new album from Bumblefoot, instrumental album set for release January 24th next year, featuring the likes of Brian May, Steve Vai, and Guthrie Govan. So an all-star cast. Bumblefoot has dipped his toes in the Prog waters with his foray with Sons of Apollo, of course. And so he's a very creative player, and this should be a really cool special release featuring many luminaries in the modern rock and prog scenes. Has Derek Sherinian, Jerry Gaskill, definitely going to be a lot of fun. And there's a track available now that is on my prog singles list. It's called Simon in Space. So it should be a cool one to check out if you're interested in what this might sound like. Some cool Bumblefoot. And it's kind of a additional note onto my prog news list. I wanted to mention Echolin, one of my favorite groups, is talking, trying to get out their new music. They have 2 albums that they're going to be releasing next year. They were trying to get it going with a Kickstarter campaign, which I bought into and was really excited for. Unfortunately, they didn't make their goal for the Kickstarter, so they're revamping how they're going to release this. On their website, they have PayPal links now to pre-order the albums, either digitally or on physical CDs signed by the band. So you could still support them. It's still available to be a supporter of and to get excited for the new album. For those who pre-order, should be available to listen to in a digital form on, I believe, January 1st next year. So not too far away now. So should be really cool. I'll definitely be talking about it on the channel. Definitely supporting Echolin. I love them. They're one of my favorite groups. So wanted to give them that shout out, and go check out their website if you're interested in pre-ordering their upcoming album. Should be a lot of fun. As for the prog singles list, I have Dream Theater's A Broken Man on my list. Of course, that's one of the headlines here on the show. So I also have that Bumblefoot track, as I mentioned, Simon in Space. I'm putting in Kairos' Duchess Desire, which I talked about on my previous episode, but they actually have an official video out now that I want to promote and showcase, and it's one of my favorite tracks of the year. It's just fantastic progressive rock, right in line with their earlier release Mannequin this year, which is one of my favorites, as you'll see in my year-end shows. And then I have Stuckfish and their track Just for Kicks, a UK prog quintet who has a new album that came out recently called 4, and this is a new video from that, which I thought I'd highlight and focus on. It's just a cool, harder rocking song. I thought it was really fun. And then Circus and their track Freak Show Train, which is from their upcoming album Clockwork Tulpa, which releases on March 7th next year, a UK progressive rock act, a really cool song, and I wanted to feature it here on the show. So those are the tracks that I have for you guys in the description. Check those ones out. As for the channel proper and what's been going on here, like I said, it's been fairly light lately. I did do my first of kind of my wrap-up shows for 2024. I did my favorite album covers of the year, and that was a lot of fun to put together, so please check that out if you're interested. I talked about 15 album covers that I thought were really excellent from this year, and just want to promote that and put that out there for you guys. As for what's coming up, like I said, I want to give kind of a brief schedule. Tomorrow we'll definitely have a Prog Song Sunday with Jana. We recorded it quite a while ago, but just haven't been able to put it out yet. Kind of a more poppier Yes track. I'll put that out there, is what we're covering. Kind of different a little bit because it's not really pure prog, but I thought it would be fun to get some of that on the channel since I know there's a lot of Yes fans subscribing to my channel. But beyond that, we're going to get into my favorite prog epics of the year next week. Excited to put out that show. There's been many good ones, and it was fun to put that together. Like I said, I'm probably going to do like a New Music Weekly wrap-up style show next weekend, just wrapping up the biggest headlines of the year and how I felt about this show and how it's gone over the course of the past year. So should be a fun one to check out. And then I'm going to do a Q4 album roundup the following week, probably released around December 17th. 20 album reviews in like 30 minutes of some of the interesting releases from this final quarter of the year that I haven't covered yet on the channel. There's quite a bit to get through, and that's what's taking me a lot of time, is listening through all these releases and putting together notes so I have enough to say for that episode. But I'll probably go through the albums fairly quickly and just give a quick overview. And then that same week, I plan to put out my honorable mentions show, 20 albums from this year that didn't quite make my final cut of my top 16 favorites, but are definitely well worth recommending. I think I'm going to go through 20 albums in alphabetical order just to talk about some of the best albums of the year, and I think that's going to be an excellent show. Some incredible albums to feature on that one. And then finally, on probably December 23rd, somewhere around there, I'm going to be doing my Sweet 16 Prog Tournament of 2024, where I pit my top 16 albums of the year to get against each other to find out what the winner is, to find out what my favorite album of the year was, and that's always a fun process, so that will be coming up as well. So that's basically what I'm planning for the rest of this year, for the rest of this month, and then I'll probably take a little bit of a break and then come back with fresh episodes in January next year. So that's really the plan, and throughout that time there'll probably be regular Prog Song Sundays with Jana as well. And we're thinking of doing some interesting, different kind of videos together. Also, me and Jana talking about different issues, different things that we've been thinking about lately. Maybe do a show about our favorite things and that kind of stuff. So it should be a lot of fun to be had on the channel. So thank you guys for sticking around with me. I know it's been a little bit light lately, and I apologize, but hopefully things will get ramping up and there'll be a lot of exciting content. I'm really excited to put out these year-end lists and to talk about my favorite records of the year. Probably going to be fairly predictable what albums I really loved. If you just look behind me on the wall, you're getting a clue to a lot of my top choices, but it's always fun to just be able to gush about my favorite music, and hopefully you guys get excited about it as well. So thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in a future episode, hopefully. Stick around on the channel. I promise there's a lot of great stuff coming. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the music.